everybody, welcome to our weekly AMA. This is going to be a dev meeting, or a dev AMA, I should say. It is 2 p.m. EST, November 1st, 2021. So I have just a few brief announcements, and then I'm going to pass it off to Fox, and he's going to go over some things, and then we're going to hop right into the questions. So the first thing I want to do is we've brought two new developers onto the team. Their names are Typical and Chunk Norris. So those guys are going to be really beneficial in helping us improve our timelines and our strategies for developing new content and pushing out new stuff for the game. And then we've also brought in a new artist. Her name is Cabbage, and she'll be joining the team to help put out new art items. I'm like forgetting my words here, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Fox. He's going to cover some of the milestones and accomplishments we had last week, and then we'll hop into the questions.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Xeno. Also, sorry in advance. My dog sees some people outside and might be barking. So, no, it was a great week. We launched the long-awaited tavern. It had been in beta for almost a week, and we were able to work out a lot of issues there. So, like a huge thanks to all of the people that were able to go into that and test that. And we had some airdrops we did to some of those testers as well, which is great. And I'm just really excited that that's out now. You can see heroes. If you want to start into the game, you can head over there to buy a hero and sell heroes and summon and all that type of stuff there. So that will be a strong uh, thing to have in our game that will really support that aspect of that get stuff there. So I'm excited about that. That was launched. And of course, everyone's next question is, okay, now when quests? And we are hard at work on that. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But we did have other things happen last week too. I went and got lunch with Poppy Official over at Harmony, and I was in town and stopped by, and it was great. So that just like really opened up uh, the channel, I guess you could say, with us and like Harmony quite a bit more. And so now we're, like all on the same page, and we're able to just like really bounce ideas off each other and have like really quick, really fast actions, like actually being taken on those things. So I'm really excited about that and the newfound support that we have there with them. And it's just been really great this week. Also, there's other things we've been doing for partnerships and things, which I can't really announce yet, but we are hard at work on a few other things as well there. So super excited to have those in the short term announced soon. And those are kind of the main milestones I would say for this week. Obviously, there's always new like members in our channels here on Discord and Twitter, and all those are always on the up and up, and that's really exciting to see all of the excitement out there for the game as well. But that's basically it. Handing it back over to you, Xeno.
All right, so let's launch into these questions. I do want to give a little asterisk right here at the beginning. I do typically cut down the questions I receive from you guys just so it can be a little bit more brief in these AMAs and more to the point. So sometimes if you ever hear me say, hey, X said, had this question or whatever, and you notice all the text isn't in there, I do pass off all the important information to the team. So we are hearing that, we are reading it, and just bear with me so we can be a little bit more brief in these things. So our first question comes from Crispy BYU. Has the team considered the possibility of bots being able to run quests, and are they putting in any measures to prevent bots doing quests and kind of damaging the economy of the game?
I'll take that one. So yeah, I mean, it's always an arms race against bots. Like when it comes to games, all kinds of games have bots, especially when you have like the prospect of having earning from playing. It'll always be a thing that we'll have to fight against. And our approach is to try to head off the bots from a few different angles. And like one of them is to ensure that like the game is actually fun to play. It's not just very tedious and very like repetitive. Another one is to incentivize things properly so that like the botting isn't such a huge temptation or draw. And then other things too is basically just like the standard anti-bot measures to try to ensure that it's an actual human being doing these things, and That can be tricky on the blockchain because to a certain extent, anyone can interact with our contracts however they want to from anywhere. And that's kind of like the draw of stuff on the blockchain, not having a centralized way of doing anything. But we are hard at work trying to think of ways to creatively make it so that it's not such a huge issue with bots.
All right. Our next question comes from Endlessly Awake. When you said the first 50 people would be getting tier airdrops, that was incorrect. You should have said the first 50 listings because some people won 5 to 6 times. And I'm going to pass that one off to you, Frisky.
Okay, coming off swinging. Yeah, so actually we announced that the first 30 people, not 50, would like be getting those, and I had a few things that I announced. One of them was for like buyers, one of them was for listers. In the end, what we ended up doing was we had it so that it was the first 50, so we added on a bunch extra, and we had four different categories. One of them was for the first ones that actually went and listed, which are those brave souls that sent their hero out there into the abyss with the hopes that they would actually not just have it, who knows, end up where. So that was to like reward those people, and then obviously like the first 50 that like actually went and hired and actually bought them also got that. So in the end, there was 200 teardrops that were sent out, or 200 drops of, I think it was 25 tiers each, or was it 30 tiers each? I honestly can't remember. But individuals could theoretically like win that, I guess, in each of those categories. So you had some people that might have earned two or three or even four if they did every single one of those things. If like they were listing and selling and trading and buying and all those things all at once. So that's really what we were trying to incentivize there.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
and in addition to that, it was, the intent there was to kind of offset the risk that these people were taking on. So being some of the first to sell and to buy and to do some of those different things, right? That was worth it to us to increase that original drop amount from 30 to what, 100 or more. So, yeah, I think Fox was really fair in what he did, and honestly, we'll have more of those opportunities as we have people testing out our beta releases in the future. But again, you do take on risk when you do that, so we want to make sure people are being compensated fairly.
Okay. Our next question comes from Biggs. The hero filter cannot be working perfectly just yet. I've noticed that if you limit the main hero class to a single class, it still shows heroes of other classes. And I've also gotten a lot of feedback about some different suggestions and stuff for the filter system as well. So I don't know if you wanted to take that, Tango. I'm not sure if my
Yeah.
question was real clear there.
Maybe can you just restate it really quick?
Yeah, so Biggs, he said that the hero filters seem to not be working perfectly. He's noticed that when he tries to
Oh, right.
isolate a single filter, he sees heroes that don't fall within those
Right.
parameters.
Right. Yeah. So I agree with that. I think we've had some issues with the filters along the way. In our beta, especially, we had some things that didn't quite show up the way we expected them to. And Fox mentioned kind of addressing some of those early on with our official release this last week. We did put a lot of effort into that, and we were actually enabling and disabling a few filters to make sure we were getting the right thing, and that people who may have inadvertently lost their hero for a moment, we were able to get those back into their visibility. Going forward, though, what we are looking at is the way we're adjusting or implementing that filter system. So we like all the filters that are there. We like being able to search by the professions, by the classes, by the stats, and everything else that is there, and maybe even a few things that aren't there yet. But we need to kind of adjust the way that we're looking at those filters and do it kind of backwards from the way we're doing it today. So it'll be more of a inclusionary filter instead of an exclusionary, meaning that we will allow you to uh, have everything deselected at the beginning and you include what you would want to include to see in that filter. And that should be able to help narrow down more specifically what you're looking for. So to address the specific question, if you want to limit your main hero class to a single one, you should be able to click on priest, for example, and just see all of the main priest, and then apply as many additional filters as you want. So that is really good feedback. We do recognize that it's not as intuitive as it could be, and we do have additional filters that we want to add in there. the more filters you add, I'll just add this comment. The more filters you add, the more complex the system becomes, right? Every single filter we add from this point on affects all the rest of the filtering, and that code gets larger and larger. So we're letting our developers take a moment to really analyze what that looks like and make sure we get the right filtering system out there. But we do really appreciate that feedback because we want this to be intuitive for everybody. And I'll also take this minute just to kind of plug in the release of the API v5 that we put out there. Fox put a lot of really good effort into that to make sure that the proper stats and the formatting and everything else that can be visible can show up, and that's really going to help with our filters. And it's also going to help, our third-party developers who are looking to include some of that data into their sites and applications they're building. So overall, we're really excited with the level of data that's there and your ability to find what you're looking for as we move forward.
Yeah, I was about to just reiterate that with the API. We actually completely like rebuilt the API from scratch during the beta because we like really quickly realized that there is a huge like appetite out there to just really be able to drill down and filter out exactly what you wanted. So from the standpoint of the API now, there's so much like raw data there that I'm excited to see what other people are going to come up with because really like the sky is the limit now with that data that's there. And it's just an open API. Anyone can hit it, anyone can access it. And it also probably has already addressed this specific concern. It probably came in a little bit prior to that fix being launched, but it should be good now. From everything I've seen, everything looks correct now. So, yep. Next question, I guess.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. So our next question comes from, I always say his name wrong. I feel like I do anyway. Bluity PC-ish. Um, he's asking, are there any plans to be able to change the price of a hero that you're selling or renting without needing to like end the sale, enlisting, and relist it? And Fox, you can probably
Yeah,
take that one.
I got this one. So plans for that specific functionality, not right now. But I mean, it is a thing we could add. But actually, in the smart contract, there is the functionality. It just isn't actually being implemented yet, but there's the functionality to set a start price and an end price and a duration for the sale. So that, for example, you could start it out at like maybe 50 joules, and then over the next week, you could have it slowly like reduce down to like 20 joules or something. And so that way, like you can basically have it automatically adjust over time. And then anyone who wants to buy it at any point in that time will have to pay that amount that it is at that specific time. So that should allow a lot more like flexibility, I think, there. And it is in the works.
Awesome, awesome. Our next question comes from SwiftShot. What are the current plans to combat the tier shortage? If you want to take that one, Tango.
Yeah, I can definitely take that. And I know Fox will have some comments on this too. But we are very aware of, the tier shortage, and we know that, people are excited to get those tiers, and we're really excited for the questing and the professions that are coming. In the short term, we're working at the best way of being able to be iterative in our approach, using some for technical terms, agile methodologies to get out, what we can when we can, instead of waiting for all of the quests to be ready before we release any of them. We're hoping to be able to get some out sooner than later while we continue to work on others. That's kind of our midterm solution to say we're going to get out what we can when we can. In the short term, however, instead of just continuing to do airdrops, we've already had that comment about, well, only so many people got airdrops and some of them got multiples. We want to be able to get tiers out to everybody, not just a few lucky people. And so we're looking at implementing a couple of different ideas, and we'll see what actually makes it into the game. But hopefully, in the very short term, we'll have something that we can push out that will give you an opportunity of questing light, is what we're kind of describing it as now. But the ability for you to go in as a player and actually do something that will give you the chance of earning some tiers. And so I don't know if Fox wants to add any onto that. It's still kind of, we're still tossing some ideas around, but we do want to have a very aggressive timeline on this.
Yeah, no. So it's a pretty involved system to like have these quests. There's like so many moving parts. You got to be able to like earn items and show the items in the interface and experience points and skill points and tiers and all kinds of stuff there. And the like underlying concepts with those are pretty complex too, because it's basically updating and upgrading NFTs, which not a lot of other projects out there are even trying to do this at this point. NFTs are pretty static. So to kind of break that down into smaller parts, what we're considering doing is trying to launch a thing that will allow you to basically assign your heroes to do sort of like really simple actions, like perhaps having like a wishing well or something, and then having them uh, spend some stamina there and subtract that stamina and essentially allow us to basically run that for a test and have it ensure that the stamina system works how it should be, and then have them have a chance to earn tiers off that. And so stuff like that could also have them earn like maybe like one experience point every time they try it, just to basically try that out and see if that experience points actually work how they should. And so all these things are trying to basically take small steps towards having the full thing with Quest launch, and yet still allow people to actually use their heroes in the short term and earn some tiers and have those start to flow again too. So it's kind of killing like eight birds with one stone, I guess you could say. And we're trying to have those out really soon, as soon as we can, really. In fact, the rest of my afternoon is kind of like blocked off, like just concentrate on this. And so that is the highest at our list right now, and we're hoping to have that out, like within days. So that is what we're trying to focus on there.
8 birds with 1 stone. That's a pretty good ratio there. So this was
Yep.
a follow-up question from the same guy. Do you think Swift Shot, do you think it would be a good idea to be able to earn tiers from the liquidity pool, Fox?
I don't. We've been very careful about the tokenomics and trying to ensure that each area, like each part of our economy, is like incentivized in essentially like how it should be with the amount of risk they're putting into it and all that stuff. So it would kind of throw off some of that balance, I feel like. And the system we have in place for the questing is really like the right place for that to live.
All right. And Tango, is there a rough timeline for Quest releases? I know you spoke a little bit about that a second ago.
Yeah, we did kind of cover that a little bit, but I will say that I am meeting with our lead dev and our development group today to kind of go over what specifically we need to include in our milestones as we get out there. Again, with the understanding that we want to release what we have when we have it and not hold on to it for too long. But there are other considerations, right? There's additional steps in our process as we go down the road that we don't want you to be able to have quests and get a lot of experience points and not be able to do anything with that either. So we're trying to find that happy medium of getting you something as quickly as possible, and still have you be able to continue on that growth path that we're hoping everybody gets to enjoy with these heroes. So without answering any real specifics, I will say again that our timeline is very aggressive on these. We feel like Fox and others have done a really good job preemptively getting some of this work out the door while we were busy with alpha and beta for our tavern release. So overall, we've already gone down the road quite a bit. We just don't have that timeline finalized, but we're hoping that in the next day or two, we'll be able to share some sort of chart or information with the community about where we're at, and you'll be able to watch that chart as we progress, very similar to the dashboard that I shared for the tavern release. So I know I didn't really actually answer the question, but I would say that it is our number one priority. We know that you guys have your heroes. We know you want to do stuff with them. We know that the tiers are a huge blocker for being able to continue to use the existing functionality. So that is, we're the same as you. We want to play the game just as badly. So we're working on that as quickly as we can. And like was mentioned, we brought on more developers for that very reason, to be able to get this out quick. So I guess look forward to more. I'll have more specific information soon.
Cool, cool. Our next question comes from Noah Crypto. Why don't you guys announce when the snapshots happen, Fox?
Yeah. So actually, like we've kind of evolved over time on how we do snapshots. We started out where like we would announce them early, and I mean, honestly, I think that worked pretty well for like what it was. But there's just like certain things we're trying to incentivize with each snapshot, and sometimes it's not the same as other snapshots. So currently, our strategy for snapshots is to try to reward those who have sort of like a long-term outlook for the project, where they want to stake and hold like X joules, basically. And so, in order to incentivize that and to ensure there aren't a lot of people that are just trying to basically time that and then hurry and sell right after the snapshot or like whatever, we're trying to figure out other ways to just like reward those that aren't trying to basically trying to make a quick buck. We're trying to like reward those that have actual like real faith in our project and are like willing to hold those long term. So for the ones going forward, I think what we'll do is we'll transition to a system that will take multiple snapshots throughout the day, every day, for like a period of time, for even like a few weeks or a month, for stuff that will be higher end, like valuable items, like stuff like land, for example. And then what it can do is just average that out. So however much you had in there, average over that amount of time is basically how many entries you'd get in those raffles. And I think if we do something like that, there'll be a lot uh, less incentive for people to just basically right after a certain time hurry and go dump it, because that's not what we're trying to incentivize here, is having like the price go up and down all over the place from these snapshots. It should just be more of a steady trying to reward those that are always in. And so that's our whole outlook on that.
Great. Um, our next question comes from Devnal. Are there any plans to be able to lock heroes or other NFTs in the future to prevent accidentally selling them or doing something with them we don't want to do, Tango?
Yes, there absolutely are. We have a system of tags that are in place or going to be in place. We've talked about it quite a few times actually, and I've seen a couple of mock-ups that look really good. What we're looking at is kind of a core functionality of tagging versus like a supplementary tagging system. And so we think some of the core things are going to be being able to lock a hero and favorite a hero, but there will be additional tags that we'll be excited to share once we get those finalized. So those are actually looking really good. I don't have a specific timeline on when they'll be out, but they should be something that we're not going to hold on to till a major feature release. We'll just get them out there when they're ready on one of our regular weekly updates. So look forward to that. It is something I'm excited about personally, and yeah, we want you to be able to lock those heroes to prevent any accidents there. So
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that, like with that system of tagging, it'll also start to be really important for the future stuff we're doing too, like with
yep,
combat quests and things. So you can tag certain heroes as being like really good for this style of
right.
quest or other styles of quest as well.
Yep. If you've got your favorite miner who's, you've summoned or built out your perfect hero, you should be able to find them quickly for those quests. So I agree. Any more comments around that? I mean, any more questions? We're always open to those because that's the kind of fun stuff we want to do. And that's a great comment. So, keep them coming.
Yeah, I love hearing you guys talk about the actual gameplay in the future because I'm so stoked myself to start playing and questing and PvP and everything else. So anyway,
Me too.
this one this one came from Anon over on Discord. If a common hero is summoned from mythic parents, will it have higher base stats as opposed to if the parents were common, Fox?
So after the summon happens, that's when it's sort of already had that roll happen for the stats, basically. So um, if the heroes are higher like rarity, it does impact in a pretty big way the chance for the children to also be rare. Um, However, after that has already been rolled, it's already kind of been set in place. Like you rolled lower, I guess, than you had hoped, and so that's sort of like what you get at that point. So the chances were higher, but after it's already rolled, then it's already kind of set in stone.
So the real answer then is that there is a better chance of getting higher base stats, but the stats that you get are going to be based on your roll, right? So if you rolled a common, you'll have. Is that right that the common has like a total cap of number of stat points, where a mythic would
Yeah.
have more?
So the common is sort of like the baseline, and then every like rarity above that will add extra stat like rolls essentially. And we changed how that actually works with the like release of the tavern, we sort of like adjusted it so that rarity now impacts the chances of the children also being like rare by a pretty large amount. In the past, it was not as much of a discrepancy. I feel like it was like commons were, or no, like mythic parents were 3 times more likely to have like mythic offspring, or not offspring, mythic summons, my bad, um, than commons were. But after the change, it's something like 30 times more likely or something. So
Yeah,
so it did
35, I think.
impact that a lot. So yep,
So that being said, mythic summons are still very rare, right? If you get one, it's rare. It's always going to be rare. It's mythic, right? So
mhm,
uh, that's it's exciting, but it is, a lot more prevalent. If you do roll with two mythics, you'll more likely get better results out of it. Um, but yeah, you're
exactly.
going to get your random roll based on whatever random chance you get.
Yep, yep.
Okay. This question has been a very common one, so there were a ton of people that asked this one. Are there any plans to make recent transactions and price monitoring for heroes available? That way the community can begin to get an idea of like average prices of sales and basically how it's trending.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of really great ideas of various things that we want to add in, and some of those are like, sale history and price monitoring and transactions. We have some really cool ideas, and in fact, Fox brought one up the other day that I thought was really cool is for a visual element that we might be able to implement. Um, and so there are some cool things that we are working on. However, our focus is primarily on the feature releases and the core functionality of the game. And so we're also expecting and have seen some progress from our development community and third parties that are putting some of this data together. So, Fox has done a really great job, as we mentioned before, on making sure that API has all the elements we need, and we'll continue to update that as needed, but it's looking really full featured now, and that raw data is there and available to be consumed and to turned into anything. So when we're talking about price history, we're talking about like the genealogy of the heroes, we're talking the family tree type of thing. Those are all things that the data is there for. We're just either waiting for a chance for one of our developers to get to it when he or she doesn't have a conflicting priority, or for a third party to come up with something cool, which we've seen plenty of already. We have full faith in this community to make some pretty neat things.
Yeah, I just want to echo that, is that I'm super excited to see what the community is able to come up with all this raw data. And also I'd like to implement sort of like a sort of sort of like kind of like a bounty system or something to like reward those out there that are creating things and be like, oh, like this thing's awesome that you made. Here's some jewels for your efforts and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what people make.
Great. And Fox, this one's for you. Are there any plans to make the gardens screen refresh less often? It can be annoying scrolling down only to have your screen refresh halfway through and then you have to start all over.
Yes, this one's a huge one. And I've been meaning to do this for like months now, but there's just been so many things I've been working on with the game. But this is for sure really high on my list this week in particular, because we're trying to redo some of the things with gardens and even trying to launch some new gardens also this week, to try to, I guess, capture some of the like liquidity that will be inflowing from some of these new bridges that have been launched over here on Harmony. So we're excited about that, and that is a pretty large part. There is trying to improve that experience, and how that'll look is essentially it'll just be adding extra caching on the front end side and making sure it doesn't actually like re-render until there's actually some new data there to have it get swapped out with. So it'll be a lot less of like having it suddenly disappear and then reappear, but it'll be more of just like having it immediately update, basically. So yes, that is high on
Yeah.
our list.
And I'll throw a little plug in there too for our development team, right? And we've mentioned already that we've been growing. We have a lot more developers than we did before, which enables us to have multiple value streams at the same time, meaning that we can have some people finishing up maybe some bugs or additional features for our tavern. We can have some people focusing on our questing, and we can have, maybe some people cleaning up our interface and adding nice new visual elements and other things that just make the experience better for everyone. So previously we had to pick and choose what we were doing. Now we can kind of tackle a few things at once. So our focus again is still the core functionality, but we have people who have, some time here or there to make these things better. So I think Fox has a really good handle on where he's going with it, but we can expect constant updates as we go forward to make things better.
Our next question comes from Saturnake. I noticed that DeFi Kingdoms was not listed on the Harmony docs. Is that something you guys are looking into, Tango?
Yeah, actually, we are going to be reaching out to them. So we've been working with them, as Fox mentioned. He had a lunch with them, and we've had a couple of conversations with them around some business development and some partnership between our teams that how we can supplement and support each other there. So we do have a really good working relationship with them, and we'll bring that up as part of one of our asks for them, a way that they can help. They're very interested in helping us out and making sure that we're successful, and we're very interested in making sure Harmony's successful. So it's a win-win for all of us. So that is something I'll bring up here, today or tomorrow. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
It's a
and to
great idea, though. I didn't
reiterate,
even notice.
on that too, Harmony is has this stated goal, I guess, like to help us to reach basically 1 billion active users, and that's obviously in line with our goals too. So we are, exploring things that we can do in tandem with them, which would include like stuff like local meetups all over the USA and all over the world, and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, and I'll just clarify. It was not they're looking at our TVL and kind of understanding, what investments are coming into our game and onto the Harmony chain. It's not 1 billion active users. It would be more like a million active users regularly
Oh,
daily.
so said that wrong. Yes,
Yeah, a billion,
it
a
was
billion would be a lot of
over a
people.
billion TVL and over a
Yep,
million. Yeah, yeah.
great.
So I mean, like we are hard at work on those things there. And honestly, gaming is currently like the fastest growing vertical, I guess, here in like the space of crypto, and I don't think that's going to change for a while. I mean, it's huge and it's about to explode. So I'm excited to see where that goes.
Okay, this next question comes from Balls Sunrise. Are there any plans to add an animation-free user interface to the game, Fox?
Balls Sunrise. I love it. So yes, I have a few different laptops that I play this game with. Some of them are super high end, and some of them are not. And I have sort of like noticed that sometimes on the older ones, it sort of like starts to like drag a little bit. So we have been spending a lot of cycles to basically try to streamline things and ensure it's not having like unnecessary renders and stuff like that, to sort of like make it so it'll run like really fast, really snappy. Because in the future, like we have plans for this to run on phone and apps and things like that as well. So it's really important that like you don't need to have some crazy huge uh, card in order to run this game. Animations having them be turned off. There's already that switch over there in the tavern where it shows all of our heroes to just basically switch off animations. That helps a lot too. But we have other efforts like combining the like hero images all into one so that it'll like load faster. And then also, if we're able to do that, that will also allow the like NFTs to show up on Harmony Explorer and in like other like NFT marketplaces as well. So there's stuff over on that front that we're hard at work on as well for those things.
Yeah, and to add on to that, like Fox mentioned, we are extracting a lot of those elements out so that you can see them in your wallet and everywhere else. I would say that performance-wise, even with the animations turned on or off, we're always working on ways to make our performance of the game better, but we're always working on it as a game, right? We don't necessarily care about the performance of the decks or the price of one at the current day. We're trying to make a game that's fun and enjoyable. So we're not really focusing on anything that's not at least rendered as part of the game. And so, if we're talking about making performance better with animations, absolutely, we're trying to make that work better. If you're talking about being able to use DeFi Kingdoms outside of the gaming interface, probably not so much. In fact, I would even caution people to say if you're trying to connect through the contracts directly. We've got things built into the game, anti-bot measures, and other things that are meant to make you kind of go through the game to make sure that you're having the best experience. And you may not be able to do everything outside of the game. So again, our focus is on the game, but we will improve performance as we go along.
Some Tango, here's one for you from Nicole over on Discord. Are you guys considering adding a one price bot to Discord?
This one's an easy one. We do have, excuse me. Sorry, we do have a new bot that we've been working on. We've had some third parties kind of building some stuff out and working with Q from our side to set up our own server to be able to host it. I'm sorry for my voice. But that should be released out this Wednesday, I'm hoping, with our regular weekly release. So
Yeah, I'm excited about that. It's been in the works for almost a month, but it'll have some really cool features like being able to tip and see information about heroes and players and things like that here inside of Discord.
Yep. So it'll be a lot more than just a price bot, but we are looking at that regular information being accessible to everybody. So it'll be fun.
Yep.
All right, Fox, I'm going to pass this one over to you. This question comes from Frank. Do you guys plan to go the direction of a sim game like Animal Crossing, especially with the additions of land and other possible things in the future?
Sim game, yeah. So having like the land in there is a pretty big part of our roadmap, I guess you could say. A large part of the gameplay will be around trying to build your kingdoms, trying to increase your hero stats and quests, and have that type of stuff happen. PvP is a huge aspect of the game too, but there's going to be a lot of different ways to play this game in the end. And so a large aspect of playing the game is basically trying to create like really nice kingdoms and having your resources and like your buildings sort of like outputting at like the maximum impact that they can and stuff like that. So that will be a part of it. And then also, like some fun things too, like inside of your kingdom and like in like your own castle, you could put up maybe like your NFT artwork that's also on your wallet or other stuff like that in there as well. So I think that's like one of the cool things about stuff on the blockchain is you have the ability to interact with other NFTs and like other games that are out there and just have it be sort of like a metaverse. So I'm excited about that.
That is super cool. The idea of having like other NFT art displayed within, DFK. That sounds cool. The next question comes from Dags. Are there any plans for an auction style system for heroes or other NFTs? For example, if somebody lists a hero for sale, they could set it for auction to the highest bidder, or could you create an option for a buyer to like make an offer on a hero that the seller could accept? Fox.
Yeah, so that's kind of in line with the earlier one about how currently we have the start and the end date planned, like for these things, and it could basically dynamically change the price over that time. In the future, having things like actual auctions, it's traditionally tricky to do auctions on the blockchain because you have all kinds of like sniper things that can just like wait till the very end and then hurry and snipe it. Or you have it's like all like open ledger too, so like you can see exactly how much each individual person bids and all that type of stuff as well. I'm interested in doing things like raffle things for charity events. So like you could have somebody might need help with medical bills or something, and so we could have like a charity auction slash like raffle to help to support some of those causes. So I'm excited about all those types of things too. But in the future, yes, I think it would be possible for us to build all kinds of different ways of selling things over there in the tavern by just adding new things onto other smart contracts, basically.
Right. This one's for Tango. My colorblind friends out here in the community are asking, the common and rare hero cards still look too close in color and it gets confusing. Are we still editing or adjusting the color palettes in the game?
Yeah, and I have similar problems as well. I mean, this is an iterative process. We're always adding new things and trying to make it better. I do really enjoy the new texturing and the card styles that have been added, and I think they look amazing, especially when you get some of those shiny mythics with the sparkles that are going on. They can be really awesome. But the more busy we make it, the more difficult some of those colors are to distinguish. So we've already made a few iterations, right? We had some yellows and oranges in the beginning that were kind of close together. We separated those out a bit. Some of the additional layering we've added on to make them look cooler has also made things a little bit harder to understand. But we're thinking, part of it comes with just getting used to the new styles. You can easily start to pick out, once you've looked at them for a while, the differences between the cards and the embellishments on the sides. But to directly answer that question, yes, we are still looking at, adjusting the colors to make them more clear. I've noticed even just myself that if I'm looking at a green and a gray and a blue next to each other, it's easier. But if I just see one on its own, I'm like, oh, was that a blue or a gray? I didn't quite catch it. So we're working on it. We're always going to keep making it better, and we'll keep getting that feedback. Just understanding that everybody sees things differently, and obviously, like was mentioned, some of us are colorblind. So there's not going to be a perfect solution here, but we'll keep adjusting and making it better as we go. We're not planning on making any significant overhauls or big changes, but we'll subtly try to adjust some things and make it look better.
Great. And this last one is for Fox. This is from Furry Fats over on Discord. Since Gen Zero hero purchasers took the highest risk as early adopters, and right now they can't really do anything with the Gen Zeros due to lack of tiers, are there any plans to provide any benefit to Gen Zero holders at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, so the holders of Gen Zeros, I mean, already have a huge value proposition because basically those heroes can summon in perpetuity, basically. So there's a huge ROI there over time. But as far as in the short term, what we're trying to concentrate on right now is trying to get the short term quests light, I guess, out there with like the wishing well and trying to get that in the hands of you guys within, like just within days. And so with that coming soon, I'm not sure that that's really needed. But if it is, then I think in the past we have done things where we basically airdrop tiers to all of the Gen Zero holders. We could look at doing something like that again. Um, I think we'll have a better idea this afternoon, or actually like probably this evening, about what that timeline will look like. And then if it ends up that it's more than a few days, then I think we will do probably another airdrop uh, as early as tomorrow for that. But if it's a thing that could be launched within a few days, then probably not. So we will look at that. And then for the long term, like Gen Zeros, we have all kinds of things planned for them. There's always, like incentives to have those, and like always like little perks you can get from having those in in like our system as well. So it will always have all kinds of value added to those.
Yeah. And I would say, monetarily speaking, those Gen Zeros are already very valuable. And hopefully, there have been a couple of airdrops with significant value of tiers involved in that. So monetarily, that was kind of the purpose, is we did want to reward people who purchased those. But also for the economy, we wanted to make sure that, we had some new heroes that were summoned. And so we could start driving the marketplace and getting those available heroes, the affordable heroes, out to people who needed them so they could play as well. So really our focus now is getting tiers to everybody. We don't necessarily need to flood the market with more heroes, and we don't necessarily need to increase the value of the Gen Zeros because we already have a lot in place for that, and more coming. So if needed, we will do that, like Fox said, but I'm really excited for the questing and being able to see what you guys can get out of that.
All right, and then one last question that I'll answer. So I've heard from quite a few people, what are we doing about all the unanswered questions that we don't get to in the AMAs? I've been working closely myself with the Knights and our community leaders to build a list of an exhaustive list of questions. Basically, we're going to make a huge, really detailed FAQ, and all the questions that I receive from you guys that we don't actually answer, I am keeping those organized, and we're working on something to put out that'll answer most, if not all, of those questions within this week is my plan. Hopefully in the next few days.
Yeah.
So please continue to submit your questions. Use that form, use that channel to submit the questions. That way it doesn't get lost in the chat. And it is something that I'm reading and working on. Sorry, Tango, I
One of
think you were
my
going to say something.
No, I was just going to say one of my favorite things about this team and this project is, you know, Xeno and everyone else on the team. We love answering the questions and we love being transparent. We just don't have enough time to get to every question, and so in an effort to not try to appear to be hiding anything or anything, you know, questionable at all, we are trying to get all these answers out there. So, you know, if you don't feel like your question was heard or answered, please continue to ask. We apologize if we've missed anything, but I've seen the list Xeno's working on and it's big. And so, and we love to give out details and answers. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and ask the hard questions. Like, like we're not trying to avoid hard questions. All of us are on the same team here, and we're trying to build this amazing project. And it's not us against you guys; it's us with you guys, and we are all in this together. Is that a High School Musical quote? I don't know, but basically, like we are here for the long term, and we're trying to make sure that this is a huge success. And super excited about this week. It's where like the rubber hits the road really, because we'll start to have things like earning XP and earning items and actually spending stamina. And I'm super stoked for that stuff. So really stoked about this week.
Cool. So just some final things I want to mention. I've received a ton of feedback this week about the filtering systems for the tavern, which I've already passed on to the team leadership and to the devs, and that's something they're really focused on. So I know we gently or lightly discussed it during this AMA, and I just want you guys to understand that we did get a lot of good feedback and a lot of good suggestions there that we're looking at. I received a lot of feedback about some different things relating to Discord. A lot of great ideas there as well. So I'm actually working with Isla and Bolon to kind of revamp our Discord and some of our other socials this week as well, just to make things more clear and transparent to you guys. And then I know we've already said this, but I want to reiterate that we appreciate the time and effort that you guys invest into this thing as part of the community. And I really genuinely do read every single one of the responses and questions that you guys submit to us. I look through everything. It's something that I'm happy to do, and I really like seeing that feedback from you guys. So please keep submitting that. Please keep asking questions. Ask hard questions. Hard questions are great for me because I don't have to answer them. I just pass them off to these guys, and they have to kind of struggle a little bit. But aside from that, if Fox Tango, if you guys have any final thoughts, let's talk about that, and then we can get back to work.
Yeah, I just want to tag on to what you just said about, you know, we welcome those questions. Please give that feedback. We're always making changes based on what you guys are saying. But, you know, Fox had already mentioned earlier about, you know, some sort of bounty system for third-party development. And we already have some things that we have announced or are already in the works with some of our doc updates. We've had a couple of good submissions there and just bugs that have been found. And so keep those things coming, right? We are giving out incentives. In fact, we've got some people that we're hoping to airdrop here shortly with some of the bugs that were found and fixed based on your feedback. So we don't just want your free help on this project. Again, like Fox said, we're all in it together. This is all of our projects, and so we're hoping to give back to people who contribute the best we can, right? We can't always get to everybody, but we're trying to find those opportunities to share the success with the entire community.
Yep, just to reiterate that, ask the hard questions. And community is easily the most important single aspect of this whole project is like all of you guys. That's the reason we're doing this. We're in the community too with you guys, and we're excited for the success of this game and excited to see all the things that are launching this week. So just want to say thanks everyone for coming, and thanks for all of your support and all of your faith and all of the excellent questions.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So last note, tomorrow we are doing our weekly Tuesday giveaway, and the ladies of DFK stream is tomorrow at 9 EST as well, if you want to tune in for that. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you guys next week.
See ya.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.